and I think we all realize that life में ऐसी बहुत चीजें हैं जो हमारे कंट्रोल में नहीं है, and our audience I think will also understand. So don't stress, all shall be well.
Thanks. It has happened to me a couple of times, so I'm kind of getting used to it. Although I think in my entire 2 years or 1.5 years of YouTube career, this is the second time or something. But somehow something must be wrong, and I don't have the technical person at the moment. He's at so I cannot do anything. Anyway, thank you so much, Tina, for doing this. And I'll give you a short, everyone a short introduction about you. Tina Walia is an internationally certified image coach and a NABET trainer. For the ones who are not aware, it's the National Accreditation Board for Education and Training. She's helping several clients develop and enhance their professional and personal image. She started her career as a fashion model years ago, but slowly moved towards as a designer stylist, owing to her creative inclinations and love for all things fashion, as you can see. A very well sought after influencer and an amazing person. I've been following her for some time, and Tina is well followed, well liked and loved in her field. And of course, even as a counselor, I found her very interesting, and I'm following her page on Insta. Please do so. And I will share the links about her YouTube and her Facebook and her Insta links with you all later. She shares her expertise in image management and knowledge of fashion, as well as how to communicate effectively. Today's topic is dining etiquette, which I think most of us need to learn. हम सबको ऐसा लगता है करके हमको आता है, पर आजकल की जनरेशन जब मैं रेस्टोरेंट्स जाती हूँ या देखती हूँ, they're struggling how to hold even like fork and a spoon, कौन से हाथ में क्या पकड़ते हैं, napkin कैसे यूज करते हैं, ये simple things जो हमको लगता है शायद even if like I'm born and brought up in Lonavala, right, and हाँ तभी हम लोग नहीं करते थे और शायद आता भी नहीं था, पर जब मैं बाहर I started traveling, and even people like you will go to like metro cities and you will be going out for lunches with maybe your colleagues, और तुम dorm में भी रह रहे हो, hostel से तुम कहीं बाहर जा रहे हो खाने के लिए, आपको आना चाहिए किस तरह बैठना है, क्या बोलना है, कैसे खाना है, कौन सा स्पून किस चीज के लिए है. सो आज हम मोस्टली डेडिकेट करेंगे ये वाला सेशन फॉर डाइनिंग एटिकेट. और मैं ब्रीफली अपने बारे में थोड़ा बता देती हूँ, जस्ट इन केस टीना के कोई फॉलोअर्स यहाँ पे हैं जो मुझे नहीं जानते. I'm Rachna Daryani. I'm a counselor, clinical hypnotherapist. I'm a little bit of a soft skills trainer also, because मैं तुम लोगों को सिर्फ ये नहीं सिखाती कि काउंसलिंग में कि अपने इमोशनल वेलनेस का कैसे ध्यान रखते हैं, but I also help you to increase your emotional intelligence, and we have done interview skills also, and that's the reason I have got Tina, because मुझे आता है पर मुझे सिखाना नहीं आता, and Tina is a trainer. So इनसे बेहतर कौन हो सकता है जो हमको ये सिखाए how to dine and look elegantly, you look elegant when we are eating. Thank you so much, Tina, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Rachna. And I would disagree, because I too am an ardent follower of your page, and I completely disagree when you say you don't know how to teach, because you teach so beautifully at the level of the regular person, with quoted beautifully with humor, and that is the language that the average person understands, is what I would like to say. So you're doing a beautiful job. Please keep at it. And that is what I would like to learn from you also. So whenever you are here in India next, we will definitely connect on that level.
Okay. So let's start. Tina, you wanted to share first a presentation. Would you like to do that first, or?
No, I think presentation will come somewhere in the flow. It has nothing major. Whatever you would like to ask me is whatever we can start with.
Right. So the thing is, सबसे पहली बात तो ये होता है कि when a person goes into a restaurant, if it's like a dosa place or a udpi, okay, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, otherwise some of them will get upset. But let's say you go to a not extremely fine dining, but एक regular dining area में भी जब जाते हो, तो मैंने यहाँ पे fork और spoon रखा है. Many of them don't know कौन से हाथ में कैसे पकड़े. ये सबसे first question होगा कि इसको पकड़ते कैसे हैं और खाते कैसे हैं.
So I personally feel कि अगर आप average जगह जा रहे हो जो regular run of the mill है और डोसा की जगह है, then please अपने हाथों का इस्तेमाल कीजिए. Fork और knife की जरूरत ही नहीं है.
I remember एक कोई influencer, I think she was also image coach or something, and she said कि डोसा को, I think उसने बेचारी एक वीडियो बनाई थी चम्मच कांटे के साथ खाते हुए, तो I think it became a big huge uproar
Uh,
online.
well, that lady is a very good friend of mine and she is very knowledgeable. So I think it got misinterpreted in a lot of ways. Yes, if you are in a very formal setup and especially if it's a business meeting, then I would like to stress if you are being served something like a dosa or even something that's meant to be eaten with your hands, perhaps a pizza, then please use your fork and your knife. But
Okay.
otherwise, both dosa and pizza are foods which are widely acceptable, in fact, universally, acceptable to be eaten with your hands. Now, if you are, of course, in a business meeting and you would like to, be considered respectable, not like to soil or dirty your hands, then, of course, please use your fork and your knife. Now, where you hold them would depend on whether you are right-handed or left-handed.
Oh, okay.
Now, if you are right-handed, then obviously your knife will come in your right hand
Okay.
and your fork will come in your left hand. And how we eat it is, I wish I had a plate and I could show it to you. But perhaps if I were to lower this and you consider my napkin today, I'm wondering if we can see this.
Yeah.
Is it visible?
Just a
And
little bit. Pull the napkin towards you. It's a little on.
can
No,
we see this?
towards you, not away from you.
Okay, here?
Yeah, look, further, towards
Okay,
you. Yeah,
okay,
now we
here.
can.
Okay.
Yeah, I can
Now,
see.
if we consider this to be my plate, what we're supposed to do is we are supposed to hold our fork with our pointer finger
Right.
and place it right there. And we are supposed to hold our knife also and, position it in such a way that we exert pressure with our pointer finger.
Okay.
So if I were to, if there is a, say, a cutlet, now just as an example, or even a, slice of pizza, we will start from the triangular portion here. Assuming there is a triangle here, I will pierce down with my fork on the triangular portion, exerting pressure with my pointer finger. And then with my knife, I will start slicing that triangular portion back and forth like a axe, right?
Like seesaw.
Or
Yeah,
right?
back and yeah.
Back and forth like this. And again, similarly, I'm exerting pressure with my pointer finger so that it cuts easily. And
Right.
that is what you're supposed to do. And
Okay.
that makes it simpler for you to maneuver your food.
Okay.
But a lot of people hold it in a lot of awkward ways, which is why you're not, able to achieve the results as easily as perhaps you would like to
I
have
think
it.
the most I've seen people do this, they
Yes.
do this.
They use like a shovel and a spade
Yeah.
kind of motion, all kinds of motions. But ideally, if you were to use your pointer finger on both the sides and keep it facing downwards, then you would be able to do it easily.
And is this the correct way where the spoon, you push the food into the spoon when you're eating?
Well, if you're eating something like rice, perhaps you could do it, but usually it's not supposed to be done.
No, I'm not saying for dosa, but regularly, if people just going for a regular place where there's nothing to cut and all, but it's rice and.
If it's rice, then again, you could use your knife and your spoon.
Okay,
I
nice.
use the fork at all.
Okay.
Right? So you can use your knife to push the rice onto your spoon and then eat it.
Okay. Generally, because this is what we do, we eat this way, right? When we add.
Right.
Okay. And the soup spoons generally when they are there. So which is the right way to take the soup and then take it from the side of the rim of the.
So again, the soup, several things that you should not do is blow into the soup to make it cold.
Okay.
So start with the surface of the soup where it is generally cooler, right? And then take the soup away from you. Because if you will take it towards you, the chances of it spilling on your clothes when it's hot are more. So ideally, what you should be doing, you should move the soup spoon away from you,
Okay.
scoop it away, and then bring it closer to you. In that much time, it will get a little cooler, and then you could have it.
Okay. So
This is how
Aryan
you
is
start.
asking, ma'am, in many settings we visit knives aren't available in such a situation. What do you suggest? Then a spoon? I'm guessing they have a spoon.
You may ask the wait staff for a knife.
Okay. And if they don't, then
Usually they will. Yes, of course. Then you make use of whatever's available, right, Aryan?
Okay. Do you have a question? You've raised your hands. Is this what I had to ask, or you want to ask? You can unmute.
That was the question. But it's just that, yeah, it's not available, and I'm actually really comfortable with, a 14 knife. That's what I prefer.
Your signal is not good. It's like breaking a lot. I can't understand. Right, Tina? Isn't it?
Yes, I could not hear clearly.
Yeah. So it's a lot of disturbance. Anyway, so
you could again put it down in the chat, Aryan. You could put it down in the chat.
Okay, so one of the most embarrassing things when we are eating is we don't realize that things get stuck in our teeth, right? And what is the appropriate way? One, if you see someone else who's got something in their teeth, do you tell them or you don't? Second, suppose you realize you have it. What do you do in that moment?
So I am somebody, I would tread a little carefully if obviously I'm dining with close friends and family and I saw that something is stuck in their teeth. I would certainly go ahead and tell them, because you don't want other people go about looking like fools. And I would appreciate other people also telling me, because I would not like to go around looking like a fool myself. Imagine a piece of spinach or something, palak, stuck in your teeth, and then you go around looking so foolish the entire night, right? Maybe you're going to a club later. So I would appreciate if somebody tells me. In the same breath, I would like to tell other people and assume that they will also appreciate it and not mind it. So that is my personal preference, and I would like to share that. And of course, certain things we should not do when something is stuck is, you should not be digging with the toothpick. Even, some people like to do it discreetly behind their hand or behind the tissue paper or perhaps the table napkin. Don't do it, because we all know what you're doing.
Okay.
If it is I would say ignore it. If it is unbearable, please excuse yourself, go to the washroom or the restroom and then do it.
Okay, so you're saying okay, I've seen many people, especially
Most people do it.
Yeah.
Ideally, toothpicks should not be on the table only.
Oh, okay. So at home is fine, but not in the restaurant. But very few restaurants take toothpick.
Ideally, restaurants should have toothpicks so that you may ask for some and go to the washroom and then get rid of whatever's been lodged in your teeth.
Okay.
Hona hi nahi chahiye table par, so that you can't make fools of yourself doing all that.
Yeah, I mean, some people with friends is still okay. Like I have very close set teeth, so generally कुछ होता ही नहीं है, सब कुछ ठीक रहता है, nothing gets. But I have my friends who keep doing this throughout. I mean, it's little thoda
See,
सा
even because Rachna, with age, I see that मेरे भी बहुत cavities हो गए हैं, तो food does get stuck because वो gaps हो जाते हैं in the teeth. But आप अपने आप को excuse करो और please कहीं और जाके करो, because nobody likes to see all that happening. It's not hide and seek, right?
उससे याद आया, what if you, I don't think I said this to you, but अगर से you want to sneeze, and what happens with that?
So either you sneeze in your elbow. I think post-COVID, we all understand that it is unavoidable.
Just one second. Yeah. I'm in a live session. Sometimes kids, oh my God. Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
So, I think it's perfectly acceptable nowadays to sneeze in your elbow, because the germs get dissipated there and you're not really spreading them all around.
About the napkin, can you like sneeze in the napkin? Is that like a...
No, ideally not, because आप बार-बार use कर रहे हो उसको to wipe your hands. So you should not sneeze in your napkin. Again, with the napkin, I got the napkin today because there are two ways of folding it. So one is the triangular way, and One is, of course, you fold it in two halves like a rectangle. Both ways, जहाँ भी आपका fold है, the opening should be towards you, facing you, so that आप बार बार उसको खोल कर, you can, wipe your hands inside, and the dirty part should not be seen. आप खोल के अपना हाथ अंदर डालकर, you can wipe it again and again.
Okay, okay.
So ideally, that is the way it should be done.
Okay, but isn't it?
And no tucking it in, please. I see a lot of grown-up people still doing that. It looks like a baby's bib.
Yeah, unless you go to those places with the Japanese restaurants where they give you a specific bib to wear in case the food flies.
That, of course, is like an entire different cultural experience.
Yeah. So when, suppose the napkin is already on your table, is there a specific way, like when you sit down, do you take it from your right, your left? Is there a particular etiquette?
So, Rachna, when we go to a restaurant, obviously the table setting is all done. So, aapka napkin will be placed somewhere.
Right.
So that is before it is somewhere. During, aapko maine bata diya, you keep it on your lap where you place it. It's always on your lap. In between, if you have to go to the washroom, excuse yourself, maybe for a call, you always leave it on the chair.
Okay.
And you leave it on the chair also in such a way so that when it's dirty, the dirty part can't be seen. And even if it's upholstered, the chair, their upholstery does not get dirty as well. So you just place it neatly, perhaps on the chair, perhaps on the armrest of the chair. And then afterwards, you need to just lightly, do that and leave it on the left side of your plate.
Okay.
Agar aap usko fold karoge, then the wait staff might get confused and get an indication that your meal is not over.
Right.
Fold nahi karna. So just lightly.
Just कंपल करके रख सकते हैं.
हाँ.
And ये जो खाना अब तो खा रहे थे हम लोग, बट खाना खत्म होने के बाद कौन सा राइट तरीका है? स्पून और उसको प्लेट के अंदर रखो, उसको क्रॉस करो.
There are a lot of different ways. Ideally, I will just place it like this at the number 4 position, and that's it. Okay. So because see, there are so many different dining etiquettes. There's the continental version, there is the American version. There are so many different versions.
True,
and crossing in between means that I'm in between a bite or in between a course.
Oh, okay. So that's what crossing means. That, oh, I thought that when you're done.
So it depends on, again, which version you're following, right?
Yeah, because when we go for fine dining, you're like very elegantly, you open the napkin on the right and then you place it on your lap. So when you go to these like real fancy do's with, I don't know how many, the set menu one. Yeah.
Rachna, you have to figure out, again, etiquette is something which is cultural. It will change from culture to culture, from country to country. So depending on which part of the country and culture you are, it will change. So if you are in Dubai, you will have to figure out what is the right thing there.
True. So like here they eat a lot of mezes. So it's mostly hand. You break the pita bread and you eat that. So on that note, when we were talking about the napkin, there are some people who, okay, you can't control your sneeze and all, but there are a lot of people who blow their nose sitting at the table. And that is the most distressing for me when I see people, okay, once you did it, it's fine. Some people just go on and you feel so, and they use the same tissue over and over again. So can you help with that? So anybody who does this, please don't do it first and foremost. Let's see what's the right way to do in case you need to blow your nose.
First is don't blow your nose into the table napkin because this is only meant for wiping your hands. Please ask for, obviously, tissue papers. They are meant for a reason. Do not use them more than maybe 2 or 3 times because they also tend to get soiled depending on how much nasal discharge is coming. I don't know what kind of conversation we're having here.
No, but I've had friends who do that. I can't like gently tell them that, okay, don't reuse the tissue so much, or at least go to the toilet and come back and,
Yes, and it's better that you go to the toilet and, clear it once and for all, wash your hands properly. But even if you're not doing that, then at least don't reuse one tissue paper so much. change the tissue papers, and of course, sanitize your hands afterwards, because we're all at the end of the day sitting, in a circle or perhaps in a close proximity on one table.
Right.
So, and we've all faced COVID, right? Everybody is still kind of a little apprehensive in that kind of an environment.
True. So
I think Aryan has asked one more
What is the
question.
question? Sorry, 1
I
minute.
want to take it now.
Yes,
In
sure.
a buffet system somewhere, I was told we are supposed to cross it in order to let them know you wish for them to stop bringing food. Again, Aryan, it depends on which system of etiquette you're following, whether it's the continental or the American. Yes, it could indicate that as well, depending on which system you're following. It's absolutely okay.
Okay. So this thing that, I mean, we were discussing about, obviously it's table manners, and you said how to keep the napkin and all of that. But nowadays, as we see, all that leave aside, the mobile phones, which people keep checking on when they're sitting and dining, and it's buzzing and there are calls coming or there are text messages. People sometimes even have that light on, the one which flashes right into your eyes. So what is your advice to people who do that on tables? What is the right thing to do and not the right mobile etiquette?
So see, Rachna, I personally feel I am no one to advise anyone. But yes, the right etiquette is that if you are going out socially with a group of friends or with family, then leave your phone in your pocket or your purse, leave your work behind, and enjoy the moment. I think we're all living in such fast-paced lives, with so much stress, that when you are in that moment, enjoy it. So many people I've seen will go to places or to parties, and they're really not enjoying the conversation. All they're doing is just taking pictures.
Right.
Or, they're doing some things with their phone. It's only in the phone, right? So it does not make sense to me at all. Please, there is no place on your table for your purse, for your keys, for your phone, anything except for your cutlery or your plates and things like those.
And
So
what
I would
happens
say
is
just leave it.
so sorry. What if you just said not your purse also on the table? Many a times you don't have that extra chair to place your, or the back, if the bag falls off from the back of your chair and you don't have a sling bag. In that case, what do?
You may, if it's a very small clutch, you may leave it on your lap and then put your table napkin on top of it. If it's a very, like a night out. If it's a medium-sized bag, you can, if it has a handle, you can put it on your armrest if there's no place behind it, or you can put it besides you as well on the side.
Okay.
So those are, but usually we don't keep it on the floor, because in a lot of cultures, they feel that, we carry our money and other essential things and then we are disrespecting it.
Okay.
So we usually don't place it on the floor. And of course, a lot of ladies have very investment expensive bags, so they don't like to place it on the floor also. So we don't do that. So please keep your mobiles in your pockets, gentlemen or ladies, and or in your purses. Never keep it
a formal event
on the table.
Especially formal events, you have to be even more cautious. With a
Yes,
family event,
because a lot of people will take, will feel disrespected that, you are treating your phone as more important than their event.
Right, true. And this question where we are talking about if it's a formal dinner or if it's whatever. But when we were growing up, we were always told not to place our elbows like this on the table. Is that true anymore or not really?
Yes. So in between your, courses, if you're going to a formal dinner, you are not supposed to keep your elbows on the table at all. No, sorry, while you're having your meal, you're not supposed to do it. But in between your courses, in between your meals, whatever, you may keep it here. Or the best course of action would be to keep your wrists very lightly on the table. Ideally, the best place is to have your hands on your laps.
Okay.
And that rule still exists.
Okay, so like this, okay. I think he wrote one mistake I feel people sometimes make is attending calls on the table itself, where I think it's inappropriate and you have to
Yes, absolutely. If you do have an urgent call, please excuse yourself, get up, move away. Even if you feel that you are going to be a part of a dinner event and you might have a call which you already, fixed prior to that, inform everybody that, at so and so time, I have an important call that I might need to attend and I would have to excuse myself and already inform everybody in that formal kind of setup. Informal setup, I think we're all very casual nowadays and phones are very acceptable. Most of us all would have our phones on the table.
Right, right.
Though I feel even that is not done, but I guess to each their own.
Yeah, I mean, even I have to consciously try not to use my phone on the table.
All of us, I think we all see nowadays families of 3, 4, where everybody is talking less and on the phones more. So that's okay.
So what I do, last time I took my son, he's only 11 and my daughter is studying in uni. So we went out, my husband, myself and my son, we went out. So I could see that he's like, what do you talk, right? With 11-year-old, how much can you talk? So what I did was, I said, okay, let's ask each other questions. Because I said, no using phones on the table. Let's ask each other questions. After some time, we ran out of questions. So we had to pick up our phones and start looking for questions. So it kind of was very funny that we ended up either ways using the phone.
Lakshay is saying for some reason it just feels weird to have your hands on the lap. Lakshay, I do agree to some extent. So in between, when you're not eating, you may place your wrists on the table lightly. And after a while, when you imbibe that habit of having your hands on your laps, I think you get very used to it. Even at workplaces, we all do have our hands on our laps. How many of us actually sit like that? Most of us don't. So I think it's a matter of getting used to.
I mean, of course, if like suppose you do a long YouTube session, I have no choice but I sit like this some days listening to them. When it's like 3 hours plus, obviously it happens. But
Of
we're
course.
thinking more about a formal setting when you're out eating and stuff like that. So you can't help but do that. And what
True.
about pacing yourselves with the other diners? I'm a very fast eater and there are some extremely slow eaters. So how does one manage that?
Well, again, it all depends on how formal the setup is. If it is a formal setup, then ideally you should pace yourself and follow the lead of the host who has invited you. One tip is to chew your food very slowly because a lot of us nowadays just tend to gobble our food and gulp it down. And chewing takes a lot of effort. You're supposed to chew every bite, I think 16 to 20 times, which I can bet none of us are doing. So
Right.
cut every piece of food properly and chew it properly. I think that would also help slow you down. But it is important in a formal setting to kind of, between every courses to pace yourself. And then you're making conversation when you're not eating. So it does kind of, slow you down as well.
True. Aryan has written, in our lives, we force you to stay for hours upon hours. Yeah, they do it. So my longest streak on YouTube is six hours, right, Aryan? And people actually still sat through it. Like for 6 hours, I had question and answer session. 6 hours.
What was that session about?
Generally, I do a lemon down session, which is like just a general question answer session where people ask their questions about life problems, whatever they're having. And I sit and try to give my perspective. I can't say solve it, but I give my perspective. But sometimes, of course, it goes into this random tangent. I have no clue how we manage 6 hours, but they were so. And last time also, I did a journaling technique, a psychoeducational session, which lasted about an hour or so something. And after that, I said, okay, I'll take few questions because it wrapped up quite well in time. Next 3.5 hours, I was just answering question answers about life problems. And just before I left also, ma'am, one more question. So I don't know how it happens, but it just does.
So Rachna, I am doing NLP online from 4th to 8th. So because eventually I also want to get into life coaching, I think you need to get into it since you're solving people's problems now.
Yeah, so I have done NLP with hypnotherapy. Okay.
Okay.
So when I studied in Singapore, we mixed it up.
Okay.
Because only NLP and only hypnotherapy, like the anchoring technique, which you learn,
Right.
and the
Right.
switch pattern, which you will also learn. So we
Okay.
use a little bit of that when I'm hypnotizing a client.
All right.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
so in a trance, we do that. But of course, I stopped doing live hypnotherapy for a long time now. I do only via audios.
All
I
right.
have,
Wonderful.
I take the sessions via that.
Sounds very exciting.
Okay, the next question, this particular friend of mine couldn't attend, so she just sent me the message. She said, should a lady who is sitting stand up and shake hands when a man is introduced to her, or keep sitting and give her hand to greet?
Okay, so this is an important question. Ideally, I feel that we should, because it accords respect to the other person. And when you see certain aspects of a handshake or greeting anybody, it is about eye contact and a warm smile as well. So
Yeah.
how will you even have a nice warm smile being exchanged or any kind of eye contact if you're not at the same level? And how would it look if I'm doing this and the other person's looking down at me? So I personally feel the equation should be equal in that sense as well. So even if they say you need not, I ideally would.
Okay, makes sense, because although also there's a new thing that we, the so-called grown-ups and the ones who are getting older, what we do now, anytime comes anybody walks into the door and like a few friends also, we get up and say hello. Now, not because it's polite or whatever, it's because we can stand. There will be times when you're going to have trouble even standing, and you perhaps, I guess most of us will go through that phase of being bedridden. So we enjoy this moment of standing and greeting. So we've made it like a thing that, okay, everybody can say hello. Yeah.
Right. Yes, I guess now that I'm getting older, that also makes perfect sense.
Okay, so another question, what should one do if it's like a few course meal that we have, let's say 4 or 5 course meal, and one of the dishes is not up to our preference? Should we wait for the next dish to be served, or we tell them to please clear the dish and bring the next round?
It's entirely your call. So depends on whether you would like the setting in front of you to be clean and neat. So if you had a very messy course previously and you don't like whatever's in front of you, and it looks rather messy, you would rather have a fresh plate, fresh fork and knife, you could request them to change it. If you feel that you could, do with the same one, you may feel free to continue with it as well. So I personally feel that it's your call entirely.
Okay. I think if there are quite a few people, nobody will notice if it's like a huge wedding ceremony and there's this long table. But if it's just like few of y'all and your dish comes before the next, suppose you say, okay, I don't like this, you send it back. And again, everybody's eating something different, you're eating something different. So maybe perhaps just wait. If it's a smaller table, that would be my thing, right?
So maybe I did not understand the question. Could you just repeat that for me?
Question was, suppose it's a set course menu, right? The course after course, this is a 4 or 5 course menu, and suppose I got something which I really don't enjoy. Okay, this is the second dish, and should we send it back or wait till everybody finishes?
No, you could absolutely. There will always be times that you don't like what has been served to you. You may absolutely feel free to send it back, but at the same time, make it clear to the rest of the people that please go ahead and feel free to enjoy whatever's been put up in front of you.
Okay, cool. Okay, Archit is asking, in a formal situation, if the wait staff is busy and not listening, how to handle that if the server is not attended?
So, and we see this all the time, right? A lot of people doing, and and all kinds of names being called. Avoid calling out very loudly. Avoid any gestures above your shoulder level is what I would say. Ideal case scenario is to try and make eye contact with them. Of course, sometimes this is not possible if the restaurant is very crowded. Then ideally, I would say is just try to not very high, the hand level, try to make eye contact and just get their attention somehow so that they come to you.
So not about, normally we do this like it feels like you're in a class, like trying to call them. But they don't look. There are so many restaurants. I went to a very what was it called? Very good restaurant in Bandra Bandra Kodra complex. Some very fancy Japanese place, super fancy and really expensive. But the problem was the staff. I mean, they were just going past you back and forth, considering it's like, and that's what I complained to them. I said, you spoil the entire thing of you come to such an elegant
experience, yes.
And such elegant and exquisite looking food, and you're like taking, obviously, as usual, all the kids were taking photographs and of the food and Instagrammable food. But the problem was nobody was coming to your table when you wanted to order, or something was missing, or you drop on that note, when you drop a fork, what do you do? Or a spoon? What
So
does
see, I personally feel that's where training comes in. You can have the best of places and try to give the best of food, but if the staff is not well trained, what do you do? Having said that, yes, if you do drop your cutlery, your fork, your spoon, it's gathered some kind of bacteria, whatever. Avoid picking it up, because at times we ladies are wearing certain clothes which will not permit us from bending as well. You don't necessarily have to bend down and pick it up. Please ask for a replacement. That's the done thing to do. If you spill a drink, depends on how much drink you have spilled. Ideally, some people will tell you just ask for the wait staff to come and help you. But what if you have spilled a lot? You will have to do some kind of damage control. Whatever is available, tissue paper, table napkin, blot, because that drink can come and spoil your clothes and spill onto your lap. So whatever damage control you can do yourself, before the wait staff comes to assist you, please blot and wipe yourself. And then if it is a lot, then please, ask them also to come and assist you and help you out with the same, is what I usually choose to do.
And the most embarrassing is when we drop food and drinks on our clothes, and you have to walk around like that.
So carry baby wipes. I always carry baby wipes. So when my children were small, I realized baby wipes are a miraculous product.
I agree.
And they get rid of every kind of stain except, of course, red wine stains. Right. So they work miraculously. So do that now, Rachna.
Even I have white webs here, every room, even my room. Like we don't, only after the kids you realize, wow, where was these wet wipes all your life?
Exactly.
And you still keep them around.
I have them in every bag.
Exactly, same here. I do. But I'm talking about the people who are watching, like suppose by mistake you're in a formal setting and you something falls on you. It's very embarrassing, right? So.
Well, it's okay. I think all of us are humans at the end of the day. We all understand. So you go to the closest washroom, you try to wipe it off to the best of your ability. And you have these hand dryers, try to stand underneath that and try to dry it as much as possible. It's all okay. I personally believe we get embarrassed more in the mind. Other people are too absorbed in their own life and they really don't care one way or the other.
It's called the spotlight effect.
Exactly.
Okay, so Lakshay is asking, what if your host finishes his food and you're still hungry?
Lakshay, again, I think if your host is in a formal setting, it would be best you go home and you eat more because your host is paying the bill.
Right, true. But many people who have not, like, I remember, including me, okay, let's not like make it like the first time, all of us, whenever we first ate a buffet, okay, whenever we went and we like saw so much food, the first time is of course overwhelming and you want to try this and that. But if it's a formal setting, you need to be very careful that you don't like put dollops of food and take it to the table. It looks really bad, right, Tina?
We're talking about the buffet, I believe.
Yeah, buffet. Yeah.
Of course, I have seen people make heaps and mountains of food at the buffet just because they think, it is a buffet and that they are permitted to do so. And at the end, what is worse is they don't even finish that. They will waste 60% or maybe 70% of that food, and then they will grab another plate and make another mountain of food, and again, it'll go to waste. So that kind of really does pain you, considering how many people are going hungry in the world. But again, who are we to lecture? And it is a free world at the end of the day. So it's
No, but everybody please, जब खाने जाओ बुफे, बहुत important है कि एक से या 2 बाइट जो चीज है ना ट्राई करनी है। अगर से आपने कभी ट्राई नहीं किया है, आप ट्राई करके फिर यू कैन गो बैक। डोंट थिंक कि खाना कहीं भाग के जा रहा है। सो आराम से, और इतना भी मत लो कि लोग सोचे कि कभी तुमने 1 महीने से खाना नहीं खाया है, तो अनप्लेजेंट नहीं दिखना चाहिए सामने वाले को भी और तुम्हारे लिए भी। एंड एक एक चीज ट्राई करो। मेरे हिसाब से एक बुफे इज अ नाइस प्लेस टू, it's like an adventurous thing ki chalo let me try eating food I have never tried, and it's a good place to start to see just maybe you might like something that you've never tried before, but एक bite leke fir go back there and
get a second or a third or a fourth helping, whatever you like.
Exactly. So it's been really wonderful. I know I asked you some questions which you were not to, but pata nahi achanak man mein aa gaya. I hope it was okay.
Let me show you the table setting presentation now if we have a little time.
Yes,
Though
of
of
course.
course it's only 2, maybe 3
Same.
slides.
I would
perhaps.
love that, yeah, please.
And this is for people who like to host parties, of course. And are you able to view this?
Yes. It's
Okay, perfect. So this is, when you go to a really formal high-end restaurant, and this is perhaps what you would see on your table. And if you are somebody who does like to host beautiful dinner parties, ideally this is what you would, put it as. And the best way I can explain how to do this, very simple way, is when you will remember BMW. So like the brand BMW,
okay.
BMW. Okay, so on the left hand side, you will have your bread plate. The small tiny plate is your bread plate. In the center will always be your main, the meal plate. So B, M, and on the right hand side will be your water glasses. Perhaps your water glasses, your wine glasses, or your drink glasses, or even your coffee, things like those. So BMW makes it very easy for you to remember. Another way to remember this table setting is if you remember the word forks. Okay, so again, your F, your fork stays on the left hand side of the plate. O is for your plate, really. We can forget the R, cancel that out from whatever we're doing. Your K is your knife, comes to the right of the plate. And then your S to, again, the right hand side of your knife.
Okay.
So if you remember BMW and forks, you will generally have an idea as to how to lay your table at maybe your dinner that you're hosting at your place. So
Okay.
these are 2 easy ways to remember. Let me just, would you like me to go in slideshow mode?
Yeah, either way, whatever.
Actually, just allow me one moment.
Yeah.
I'm wondering why I can't see it.
Yeah, because sometimes that screen blocks it. Yeah, now I can see the next one. It's okay.
But I can't see the slideshow for some reason.
I can see it because maybe the Zoom is blocking the screen. Is
Perhaps, I don't know, some control issues. Anyway, as far as you can see my slide,
yeah.
This is ideally what we do in our homes. This is the basic way. And so again, you have your water glass, you have your fork, the plate, and we have the knife and the spoon. And then we have a little one step above the basic and one step lower than the formal, you have the informal setup, pretty much the same way.
Okay.
And these are certain ways in which you fold a napkin for formal settings. These are, of course, very few. There can be multiple ways. Now, if you were to go to a formal restaurant and you get a napkin with a napkin ring, you're supposed to remove that ring place it on the top left side of your setting. And when you're done with using that napkin also, you're supposed to place that ring right back. And like we suggested, when you are done with the meal, you're supposed to leave the napkin to the left-hand side of the plate. But if you have that ring, again, you will put it right back and leave the napkin with that ring on the left-hand side of the plate, is what you're supposed to do. So yes, that was pretty much it. I think if we have any other questions, we could, you know,
It was there in the chat.
answer those as well.
What are the type of conversations we should avoid starting in a formal situation?
What we should avoid?
Yeah, what are the type of conversations we should avoid starting in a formal situation?
I think conversations in a formal situations which should be avoided are pretty much what we should avoid in any situation, usually centered along very religious sentiments, along political statements, because these are things which are very personal, and sometimes these can trigger off a lot of people. So in which direction they can go at times we cannot control, and people feel very strongly about these things. So these are two subjects which I would definitely avoid. I don't know, Rachna, what would you like to share?
Religion and politics, like you said, formal, informal, बात ही नहीं करने का, बीच में लाना ही नहीं चाहिए, क्योंकि हमेशा it ends up in an argument and it just spoils the whole evening or daytime, wherever you are. The other thing I would say, if it's a formal conversation, then don't inquire too much about their job profile, their salary and all of it. You need to be very careful कि तुम किससे बात कर रहे हो, और gossip नहीं करना है आपको. अगर से आप formal situation में गए, suppose आपके colleagues के साथ या boss के साथ, बहुत बार the bosses organize such trips, you need to make sure that you don't gossip with your next table वाला, वो तो देख रहे हैं वो how he's eating. This can backfire badly. It will, the people will talk about you next time, and you might think that he's your best friend. कोई किसी का दोस्त नहीं होता. Be careful when you speak about anybody, because never burn your bridges when you're in a formal setting. Of course, family में भी नहीं करना चाहिए मेरे हिसाब से. ज़्यादा gossiping, जो gossip, याद रखना, जब आप gossip करते हो किसी के बारे में, वो सामने वाला आप पे धीरे धीरे आपका ट्रस्ट कम होता जाएगा, और कोई आपको पसंद भी नहीं करेगा कि अरे अगर से इसके बारे में बात कर सकते हैं, मतलब हमारे बारे में भी बात कर सकते हैं. So this is a very important thing to remember कि formal setting में एकदम वेदर तो बहुत कॉमन क्वेश्चन है, बट और भी आप चीजें ऐसे खाने के बारे में बात कर सकते हैं डिफरेंट. और इंडियंस की, आई थिंक, टीना, डोंट यू थिंक, व्हेन वी आर ईटिंग डिनर, वी टॉक अबाउट आवर ब्रेकफास्ट, वी आर हैविंग आवर ब्रेकफास्ट, वी टॉक अबाउट आवर लंच.
True. I mean, there's so many safe subjects to talk about. Favorite movie, favorite book, you know, बच्चों के साथ क्या हो रहा है, एग्जाम्स चल रहे हैं आजकल, you know, things like those. So there's so much to talk about when you are in a formal setup. Also, sometimes in our colleagues also we know कि एक दूसरे की लाइफ में क्या हो रहा है, so you can discuss kind of safe subjects also.
Yeah,
so
true.
Stay away from controversy, basically.
Exactly. Okay, a question: for the time we enter a restaurant and while being seated in a group, it sometimes is chaotic to select a chair and make yourself comfortable. What etiquettes one must follow?
I quite did not understand. So if we are in a big group of people and
all of a sudden, like, there are lots of, you come as a group and there's like little bit of chaos and kahan baithe hain, kaun kahan baitha hai, so yeah.
Okay, so I would again depends. अगर आप ऑफिस के लोगों के साथ हो, then थोड़ा ज़्यादा तहजीब दिखानी पड़ती है. Allow the seniors to be seated first. Allow the ladies to be seated first, and then you wait your turn, and then wait for a chair to be left empty, and then you take your turn. Friends के साथ हो, I don't think it really matters. You're all very comfortable with each other. You can sit wherever you are more comfortable with, or with the person that you are most comfortable with. Then it's all fine.
See, I've just moved to Dubai, so I don't have such close friends. I'm just busy making new friends. So मुझे अभी याद आया when you just said कि friends के साथ कुछ भी कर सकते, तो मेरा generally I was always sitting at the head of the table in my house, or the closest friends knew which is the sofa I sat on, because we have been friends for like 10-15 plus years. तो लिटरली कोई मेरे जगह बैठता था तो मैं उठ यार से यार लेट मी सिट. सो वो वहां पे कर सकते हो, पर यहाँ जब फॉर्मल सेटिंग में आप लोग ऐसा नहीं कर सकते कि मुझे यहीं बैठना है, आई विल नॉट सिट हियर. And what is the etiquette if you're a left-handed person? I know there is something, right? If you're lefty, one of my friends is lefty and she always has trouble getting herself seated on the table.
I don't think there should be anything like that. At least I am not familiar with it.
She would make us move. She's like, okay, if you're eating from here, it used to bump into her hand or something. If you're sitting next to her, so she used to sit on that side. So she would find it easier to eat with her. In case you're a right-handed person, the sitting next to her, they would bang elbows because the other one is, yeah. So she used to always sit like on the corners, so it was easier for her to eat. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to look that up. However, I feel if you're eating with a fork and knife, then you're pretty much using both your arms, and you would take equal space on either side. But yes, that's an interesting thought, and thank you for sharing that. I will look up that.
Yeah. It was such a wonderful conversation with you, Tina. And we were discussing what questions we would ask, and the flow was just so beautiful. It was more like a chit chat.
I think we're both very comfortable with each other. We've spoken or have had long conversation in the past as well. So we are both aware of each other and are comfortable in each other's presence as well.
Aryan, your hand is still raised. You have a question? कि ये जो आपने लिखा है और कुछ क्योंकि इतने नहीं अच्छा
He's forgotten to put it down.
So today I'm like going for the Indian Women's Dubai not Galentine's dinner. So you have to wear red. So I wore that and I said, oh my God, the session is going to look like I'm attending a party. So I've changed. So now as soon as I wrap up, I'll get ready and leave. So thank you so much for making time today.
Always welcome, Rachna. It's always a pleasure, in fact, interacting with you, because you are one person जिससे बात करके लगता ही नहीं है that I haven't met you or I don't know you for very long. It's always like conversation flow, like you said, is very easy. It's very casual. It's very easy. सोचना नहीं पड़ता आप क्या बोलें, क्या बात करें, So I think it's probably because you have been doing NLP and you have been interacting with so many people. जैसे आप कह रहे हो 6-6 घंटे लोगों के साथ बात करते रहते हो. So it's probably coming from a space like that as well. But it's always a pleasure to interact with you. Thank you so much for having me. And I know we've been planning this for a very long time. और वो अब आके materialize हुआ है. But better late than never, like they say. So I've had a blast doing this, and I hope this provides value to your audience as well.
Yes, and like I remember that you are good at some other topics also, which I will give you some time, and please do help and guide the current generation with whatever topic you think, whether it's communication skills or whatever that you think, fashion advice for men, because लड़कियों के लिए बहुत कुछ है, men के लिए बेचारा थोड़ा उन लोगों के लिए कम हो जाता है.
I think men बेचारे नहीं होते, उन्हें फर्क ही नहीं पड़ता.
It's very interesting, नहीं? अगर से दो लड़के जो सेम कपड़े पहन के जाएं, तो like बड़ी सिस्टम and they'll take photographs. अरे कितने cool लग रहे हैं. दो लड़कियां अगर से same outfit, तुम एक जगह में पहुंच गए, अरे यार, I should have bought something else. I shouldn't have.
I don't think so, Rachna, because nowadays it's so trending to be even twinning, right? So there are so many.
But this is not deliberate twinning. Not the deliberate twinning. Like I remember, I just went to Bombay, so फैमिली रियूनियंस बहुत हो रहे थे. तो एक दिन हम जब गए तो किसी ने एक आउटफिट पहना था जो one of the cousin sisters was going to wear it the next day. She said, shit, I have to go shopping now because she already wore what I was supposed to wear. I'm like, wow, तो ऐसा. And they were going to meet each other the next day. So we girls are very complicated. तब मैं सोचा करके,
yeah, that I can understand because एक दिन पहले ही पहन लिया and it's a big event.
Exactly. So थोड़ा वो हो जाता है.
I just want to say something regarding that.
Yes.
For us, it's like if we're going with our friends, it's actually more preferred if we wear the same.
No, you have a lot of there's a lot of crackling noise in your mic. नहीं, doesn't. तुम टेक्स्ट करो, मैं तुम्हारे बजाय का पढ़ते रहूंगी.
ठीक होगा.
क्या भाई, अब छोड़ो इधर की जगह भैया, इधर ना आना बुलाना. पता नहीं क्या लिखा है लक्ष्य, पर अच्छा है जो भी लिखा है. तुम पता नहीं किसको बोल रहे हो, पर एनीवे थैंक यू सो मच टीना. कभी कभी बच्चे लोग बहुत मस्ती करते हैं.
But it
Thank
was
you.
good to have them around. Thank you so much, Rachna.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
There would have
Always.
been many more waiting on YouTube, but because of this, as soon as I hang up, I'm going to try now what exactly went
Yeah,
wrong.
so he's written, we prefer to be wearing the same clothes. I understood that. That was coming, which is why I say, but men are not bichara. They like that. They like to be casual and
They
chill.
don't mind, yeah. And we are little, I still feel that we women are little caught up with our clothes and alag dikhna chahiye hamesha.
I think not all of us, some of us.
For quite a few, अभी तो मैं जब India गई, I was quite surprised. The trend is there with the current generation. Like from my sister-in-law to her friends, I was like, wow, क्या कपड़े पहनने लग गए हैं.
Rachna, because all the brands are pretty much available now, right?
हाँ, हाँ.
So problem ही नहीं है अब.
मैं 3-4 साल के बाद इंडिया गई तो I was very shocked that how conscious each one has become. The girls especially, not the guys so much. The girls, I'm like, wow, बहुत कुछ change हुआ है इंडिया में अभी इतने 4 साल.
Archit says not same hairstyle. Yeah, hair is very important to men. When they start losing their hair, then it becomes, oh, ye kya ho gaya?
So I had a session with Confidence with Baldy, apna, Sushant, and because I got him here and he was telling the children who were losing or receding hairline and all, and how he got comfortable. So it was a good session. Like you said, that is one. I think even for women, I think हमारे बाल जैसे कम होने वो तो होता है. Cannot like run away, but you have to accept it finally. Yeah.
But there are so many treatments now. You would be surprised.
Yeah, that's what I heard. So I hope I don't have to use it anytime soon. But agar se, to I'll ask you.
Anyway, always a pleasure. Take care.
Thank you so much. Thank
You
you.
have a great time at your event and
Thank you. See
great
you.
evening ahead. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye. Okay, let's stop.